Get it while it's hot.
Get it while it's hot.
Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to Agatha Christie Solves It All. I am your host, Agatha Christie, and this is going to be my 9th episode of Christie Crime and Wine, where I try and solve a Christie crime. If you have not yet watched any of the previous episodes, I do have a playlist that I will link down below, but the leaderboard at the minute stands at 10 points to Slagatha and 7 points to Agatha. So I am going head to head with Agatha, and if I solve the mystery before reaching the end, if I get the whodunit, then I get the point. But if I don't get it right, then Agatha gets the point. So I have poured myself a fresh cup of coffee to really start this mystery solving off well. Definitely way too early for me to get the wine out. So we're being sensible, we're being smart about this. So today's video is going to be trying to solve the 7 Dials mystery, and this was recently made into a Netflix film, which I have not yet watched, but when I read Agatha Christie books, I usually do a solve along for them with my channel members. So tomorrow night, we are doing the solve along for the 7 Dials mystery, and then the following night, we're going to be watching the movie, and I've never seen the movie. I don't know what the hell is going to happen in it. I don't know if it's a good adaptation or not, but we are going to be doing that after solving the case. So let me know if you think it is a good adaptation, if it's a good movie. I will say, I don't think anything can really top Crooked House. I feel like that film with Glenn Close, oh, that was great. I do also have this copy of the 7 Dials mystery, which I've had for a few years, and I did try and recreate the clock on the cover, but let's just say that circle is looking a little bit like Miss Marple. A little bit all over the place, you know, imperfect, maybe even slightly ugly. But this one has a bit of a weird premise. We have someone called Jerry Wade, and he is known for being a really good sleeper, and I believe his friends are trying to pull a prank on him. I'm like, what year was this written in? How old are these characters? So the prank involves them setting up 8 alarm clocks, and they're supposed to go off one after the other. However, by morning, one of the alarm clocks is missing, and the prank has backfired. No idea why, but we will definitely find out, and we will get to the bottom of this case. Because if anyone knows the bottom, it's Agatha Christie. So like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, use some channel high points if you have any left, and let's get to solving. Oh, I have just made myself a stunning decaf coffee because we want those cozy vibes. We want to settle down, really get into this murder mystery in the most ambient of ways. Ooh. So we have gotten 94 pages into the Seven Dials Mystery. And yes, what is this, you ask? What is this, you ask? I do finally have a pointer. A proper pointer this time as well. That can also be used to scratch my nose and to also stick it down. Yes, I've completed the first 10 chapters of the Seven Dials Mystery. 94 pages in. And this has already been a ride. This has already been a ride. And we now need to ask ourselves the age-old question. What is the Seven Dials? What is it? And what does it exactly entail? So the story has started, and we have already had a couple of deaths, not just one, but two. And it isn't as like small town gossip like the murder at the vicarage, for instance. So we actually pivot to a different kind of drama, and that's murder, like actual murder. And yes, there was one murder in the murder at the vicarage. Here, there is a little bit more. And oh my gosh, like so many things have already happened. So let me introduce you to the list of characters. Our predominant main character, because we don't have a Miss Marple, we don't have a Poirot, we do actually have a Superintendent Battle who got introduced in the last chapter that I read, and that's why I stopped reading where I did, because we're like, oh, we've got Superintendent Battle, he was in Cards on the Table, and I believe actually there is a story before this called The Secret of Chimneys, and some people did say that you could and should probably read it before the Seven Dials Mystery, but I said no thanks, not today. I ain't all about that homework life. If I want to read the Seven Dials Mystery, I want to read the Seven Dials Mystery. I don't want to have to do homework and read something else beforehand. Not on my watch. Get it? So the setting of Chimneys, it is a lovely estate, and that is where the story first kicks off. And we actually have Lady Coote, or Lady Cooch, as I like to call her. So Lady Coote, she's actually renting the place. She's renting Chimneys, along with her husband, Sir Oswald. And while she's there are other people staying. It is a little bit of a wild affair. I'm not 100% sure why they're all together. They must all pretty much be friends. So we have Jerry Wade. He is the person who is so good at sleeping that he doesn't get up until the afternoon sometimes. And then we also have Ronald Devereux. He is pretty much Jerry's best mate. They do pretty much everything together. And he is actually the first person to bring up the idea of pranking Jerry. We also have Bill Eversley, who is employed at the Foreign Office, along with Ronald, and we believe that's how they know Jerry. Another very important player is Jimmy Thesiger, who is currently assuming a bit of a main role character along with someone else I will mention in a second, but we didn't start off the story with the person I'm about to mention. We are starting off the story with these people in green. So yeah, Jimmy is part of the friend group. So then we have Rupert Pongo Bateman. So his nickname is Pongo. And he actually did go to school with Jimmy. He is the personal secretary to Sir Oswald, Mr. Oswald. And that's how they pretty much know each other. And then we do have like three ladies who are present too. We have Vera, or otherwise known as Socks, and Helen and Nancy. I don't think that they're too important, but let's associate them with the 8 clocks, the 8 alarm clocks that they get for this prank. So the main catalyst of this story moving forward is that prank on Jerry Wade, and the fact that all of these are involved. And so let's do a little bit of a trail, shall we? Let's do a little bit of a trail. Where did the idea of this prank originate? So actually, Ronald, Jerry's best friend, is the one who first says something about, oh, we should do something to wake Jerry up in the morning, because this is getting ridiculous. Him sleeping in at like all hours of the afternoon, it's absolutely ridiculous. Specifically, he says, let's get together and do something about it tomorrow morning, you know, get him up at 7. So that kind of elicits this idea. And then Jimmy's the one who says he'd only turn over and go to sleep. So it's Bill who says, we ought to think of something, who's got any brains, and they say Pongo. Pongo is the one with brains, and Pongo brings up the idea of the alarm clock. However, all of these ideas to prank Jerry has come from like different angles and different places, which is why I'm not 100% sure if this is going to lead to something, if the prank is actually going to mean anything. Is the prank just one big distraction for what happened? I do think it should be important because of the emphasis on it and how it is literally the catalyst of the story. So surely it must be important, right? It's got to be maybe one of these. Potentially. I'm not 100% sure. So Bill is the one who says, let's go into market basing and buy an alarm clock each. So with that, Ronald, Bill, Socks, Helen, Nancy, and Jimmy all go to the market and they buy a clock each. And that's when Ronnie says that he's going to buy Pongo an alarm clock since he's missing out on the adventure. And then Bill says that he will take an extra one for Lady Coote. So that brings the tally from 6 alarm clocks to 8. Oh, that's a good decaf. Like little children, They are all outside of Jerry's door as he is downstairs playing bridge, and they're wondering how they're going to do this prank. So they're going to set them to go off one after the other, starting at 6:30 a.m. But during this bridge game, Pongo comes upstairs and sees them outside the door, and he's looking at them and he's like, he's going to hear those alarm clocks, you dumb bitches. He's going to hear them, obviously. Like, they're going to put them under his bed. As soon as he walks into that bedroom, he's going to hear tick, tick, tick. So like, oh, fuck, yeah, you're right. So Pongo, again, comes up with the idea that maybe they should wait until Jerry goes to sleep, and then they will put the alarm clocks in his room. So yet again, Pongo, with the good hair, is coming up with all of these ideas. And honestly, they would not have gone any further without him. And you know what else is kind of a little bit crazy suspicious about Pongo? Is that it was around about 2:15. It's around about then that they decide, oh, we'll do the prank then. Jerry will definitely be asleep. And they vote and they nominate Pongo to be the one to go into the bedroom to place the alarm clocks, because not all of them could do it at the same time. They would make too much noise and the girls would giggle. So Pongo is actually the person who goes into that room. And obviously all of this is looking fairly suspicious. My finger of suspicion is pointing at Pongo. Where is Perdita? What is the 7 tiles? No. Where is Perdita? Where are your 99 Dalmatian puppies? Now that is what we should be asking. So Riku is downstairs playing bridge. Ronnie is the one who is sleeping next door to Jerry, although sleeping is a very loose term considering they're waiting for Jerry to go to sleep so that they can do the prank. Now after this, Jerry does go to sleep and Pongo goes into the room, sets the alarm clocks, and when Pongo leaves, you can definitely hear Jerry breathing. You can hear him breathing. So it isn't possible that Pongo killed him outright then. However, there is like an actual cause of death, which I will mention in a second. I just want to run through the story first and like the list of characters. So the next morning, they realize that Jerry is dead. A young servant boy goes into the room to wake him up, finds out that he is actually dead. And then when they find out about it, Ronald and Jimmy end up going to Miss Lorraine Wade, who is Jerry's sister, but kind of not sister. I'm kind of trying to follow that family dynamic. It seems like she is his half-sister, but kind of like not even related in the slightest. But Jerry went with Lorraine's mother, I believe, and like ran off with her and stuff like that. I am going to try and read a little bit more so I can find out more about that family dynamic, because that was just like a little bit weird. It's a little bit hard to follow these characters a little bit because so many different characters have, nicknames, so many different characters have different connections, and it's a little bit hard to follow, but I will get there. I will get there. So yeah, she's the sister that they tell, oh, Jerry is dead. Sorry to break the news to you. So then Jimmy and Ronnie, they go into the room with Jerry's body in it. And Jimmy doesn't actually want to go in, but Ronnie's like, you have to do it. Like, out of respect, you have to do it. And Jimmy goes in. He realizes that the alarm clocks, for some reason, have been placed on the mantelpiece, like, in a row. And they weren't like that to begin with. So he's like, well, who moved those? And they're like, nobody knows who actually moved the alarm clocks and put them on the mantelpiece. And Jimmy also notices that one of the alarm clocks is missing. So there are actually only 7 alarm clocks instead of 8. And they have no idea what happened to it. We do later find out that one of the alarm clocks was thrown out of the window. Why? We actually do not know. So that is, again, something that we will discover later on. So about a week passes, and then we have Lady Eileen Brent, or otherwise known as Bundle. That is her nickname. Oh my god, I'm telling you, so many bloody nicknames. So her father, Lord Caterham, owns Chimneys. At least owns that place, that estate. And so they have returned home. Lord Caterham is absolutely furious that someone died in his household, and Eileen, I believe it was her bedroom that he died in. So she ends up going to the bedroom. She finds a letter that the victim had been writing, and he mentions 7 dials. And I'm going to talk about the letter in a second, like when we talk about the victim and stuff. I just want to run through the story. And yeah, it's weird. She's like, oh, 7 dials. 7 dials, that's weird. But she doesn't really think too much more of it. And then the next day, this is when things get really, really juicy. Lady Eileen Bundle Brent, she's driving, and she almost kind of but doesn't knock someone over with her car. And when she gets out, she thinks, oh my god, I've killed him, I've ran him over. However, he's still breathing, and he is saying, 7 dials, tell Jimmy Thesiger. And then he dies. And she has no idea what the hell. She's like, oh my god, I've run him over. So she gets him to the doctor, and she's like, I've killed him. I ran him over, I killed him. And he's like, he did not die by getting hit by a car. He was shot. He was shot. And now we find out who he is. So let's go into the victims then, shall we? Let's go into the 2 victims and what we know about them, because there is another victim from this board. One other person on this board is dead. Can you guess who? Can you guess who? I don't think you can. So let's turn this over. I don't have the wheels on this, so I'm like kind of just having to try and move it a little bit so it fits into this room. Otherwise, with the wheels added on, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. So let's turn over to the victims. As you can see here, we still have Jerry Wade as our main victim. However, there has been another death. There's been another murder. And it's Ronald Devereaux, or otherwise known as Ronnie. Yes, that's right. His best friend. His best friend, the one who initially came up with the idea of doing the prank in the first place, he is dead. And now we have set off this mystery about the 7 dials and what that actually means, which I still don't fully understand myself. But let's run through the victims. So Jerry Wade, he was the one who was being pranked, and he was found dead by William in bed. So apparently there is a bottle of chloral next to his bed. And the doctor was like, oh, was he using this to help him sleep? Because, you know, it could have been an overdose, right? No, definitely not. Jerry has never had problems sleeping. So someone must have put the chloral in his water without him knowing, and then also leaving the bottle there as well, which is suspicious. It's a little bit weird. But, you know, we will hopefully get more clues so we can figure that one out. A death must have taken place in the early hours of morning, is what is being said, but someone must have dissolved chloral in his glass of water. And you know what? There's part of me that's thinking maybe it happened during that game of bridge that he was having, as, you know, like everyone else was upstairs being like, hee, we're about to prank him. And then Pongo comes upstairs. So he's downstairs playing bridge with like Lady Cooch. What's her name again? Cooch? Lady Cooch? I've called her Cooch once and now that's all I want to call her. If he was being spiked, it could have been happening during that bridge game. And then, you know, he went up to his bedroom. He started to write a letter. And then it's as he's writing this letter, which sounds a little bit like the previous mystery I just bloody read, he seemingly gets a little bit too tired during this letter, doesn't even finish the letter, and goes straight to bed. So let's read this letter. My darling Lorraine, and Lorraine is his sister, half-sister, or whatever she is. I will be down on Wednesday. I'm feeling awfully fit and rather pleased with myself all round. So remember that, he's feeling fit. It'll be happening to see you. Look here, do forget what I said about that 7 dials business. I thought it was going to be more or less a joke, but it isn't anything but. I'm sorry I ever said anything about it. It's not the kind of business kids like you ought to be mixed up in, so forget about it, see? Something else I want to tell you, but I'm so sleepy I can't keep my eyes open. Oh, about Lurcher, I think, and then it ends. And so that's when they think, oh, he's went to bed. He couldn't finish the letter, so he went to bed. However, what is a strange and quick decline during writing this letter? My darling Lorraine, I'm feeling awfully fit and rather pleased with myself all round. So if he's saying he's feeling fit at the start of the letter, and yet he's too tired by the end of the letter to finish the letter, something's happened. So maybe he was like drinking this water and it's been spiked, and maybe it started off during the game of bridge so that it would really, you know, take hold of him. And then, yeah, like he finally kind of passes out and he goes into a coma and then finally dies. It does say, if Jerry didn't take the chloral himself, someone must have got into his room and put it there, dissolved in the glass of water so that when he woke up, he drank it off. And of course, left the empty box or bottle or whatever it was. And that someone must have been in the house at the time. So it definitely has to be one of those main suspects I mentioned before. But yeah, when the first alarm clock goes off at 6:30 a.m, however, they do believe that he was dead before then. 7 clocks had been neatly arranged on the mantelpiece. The last remaining one had been found on the lawn outside where it had obviously been thrown out the window. Had Jerry Wade done so when its first shop summons woke him? No. Again, that was impossible. Bundle remembered hearing that his death must have taken place in the early hours of the morning, and he would have been in a comatose condition for some time before that. So I do think from the moment he started writing that letter, he was starting maybe like drinking that water, started feeling really tired, and then as soon as he went to bed, he slipped into a coma and then finally died. So when Pongo goes into his room about 2:15, I believe it was, he is still breathing because he is alive. He's just like in a bit of a coma. And then it was between then and 6:30 a.m. that he unfortunately passed. So we don't really know too much more about that because we're not following characters who are inspectors, and we don't really know anything else about the crime scene other than the alarm clocks have been arranged on the mantelpiece, one of them thrown out the window, so that only 7 alarm clocks remained. 7 is a very important number. Not only is it my lucky number, my favorite number, so really I should solve this mystery. It's also the number of alarm clocks that were left on the mantelpiece. Someone threw one of them out. For what reason? To send a message about the 7 dials. So then the second victim, Ronnie, he was almost run over by Bundle. His last words, 7 dials, tell Jimmy Thesiger. And he was revealed to be shot with a rifle. And he was shot just before he ran into the road, and Bundle didn't see the culprit. So that was pretty weird. Let's turn this back. Honestly, this is such a pain in the ass to try and move. Oh, this is going to end up falling over. I just know it. Yeah, Bundle is the one who ends up coming across the second victim, and she is starting to piece together the whole 7 dials thing. So she does go to Lorraine and Jimmy, and they talk about the mystery. And Jimmy does say that before Ronnie died, and while they were on their way to tell Lorraine about Jerry's death, Ronnie wanted to tell Jimmy something about Jerry, but then he stops himself. He said he made a promise and he couldn't say what it was. So Jimmy never actually found out what Ronnie wanted to tell him, but it is connected to the 7 dials. With Bundle going to see Jimmy and talking with Lorraine as well, and they're wondering what the hell is going on. Jimmy does mention about the war and the fact that Jerry didn't fight in the war, even though most lads of 20 fought in the war. And all we know is that he was out of England from 1915 to 1918. And then Bill and Ronnie are both brought up because they are employed at the Foreign Office. So did something sketchy happen with the 7 dials during the war between 1915 and 1918 that has now led to the murder of both Jerry and Ronnie? What are they hiding? What is it that Jerry and Ronnie know that the 7 dials want to keep secret? And I don't know if Ronnie, Jerry, and Bill are part of 7 dials. I, again, still don't really know what that means. I think I'm about to find out. But they are connected in that way. And Jimmy does seem to be a little bit of an outlier from that. And I'm not 100% sure of his immediate connection with all of that. This 7 dials business isn't merely criminal, it's international. That's something that's mentioned. So as they're theorizing, they're saying there's a secret society with points of resemblance to the mafia in existence. Jerry Wade came to know about it. At first he treated it as rather a joke, but then it became really dangerous. Rather fancy, he must have said something to Ronnie about it. Anyway, when he was put out of the way, Ronnie suspected, and he must have known enough to get on the same track himself. Then we find out about someone called George Lomax, or Cotters. Again, like another nickname. Cotters is given some sort of dry party next week, and he's had a warning letter from the 7 dials. So they believe that something's going to happen at this party that is going to, piss off the 7 dials. Something's going to happen. So I will put down George Lomax, even though we don't really know anything about him just yet. But George Lomax, or Cotters, and he's been warned by 7 dials about his party. I better be invited. If I'm not invited, I'll shoot him myself. So we have written him down. Now, at the end of this, and I'm half tempted, say I put these in purple because I don't think they're suspects. However, Miss Lorraine Wade, there's a part of me that's a little bit suspicious of her because at the end of chapter 9, Bundle says she found the meekness of Lorraine Wade highly suspicious. Because Jimmy says that Lorraine needs to keep out of business. Like, she can't go to the party, she can't stick her nose in, he needs to protect her. And then Lorraine becomes meek. And that is when, Bundle says she found the meekness of Lorraine Wade highly suspicious. Maybe that's something, or maybe that's maybe just a little bit too obvious of an observation. That maybe it just means that Lorraine is not going to listen to Jimmy and she's going to crash the party. You know what? Respect. I would do the exact same thing. But I have ended it on Superintendent Battle coming into it. And Bundle has went out of her way to see him. They've met before, maybe in The Secret of Chimneys. And I've already met Superintendent Battle in Cards on the Table. And he says that he's going to give Bundle a hint, but he doesn't want her to get involved. But he does say that she should maybe talk to Bill Eversley, because he might know more about the 7 dials than she realizes. So we're about to find out what Bill knows about the 7 dials. Battle says, you know Mr. Eversley, don't you? No, Bill, why, of course, but what? I think Mr. Bill Eversley will be able to tell you of what you want to know about 7 dials. And I still, even at this point in time, don't really know too much about what 7 dials is. It seems to be potentially a place, even though it's mentioned that a place called 7 dials was torn down and then rebuilt. They think it might be a secret society like the Mafia, as I said. So we don't fully 100% know what the Seven Dials is just yet, but we will find out. So that's all I've pretty much got at the minute. It's a little bit unconventional because we don't have the whole crime scene investigation. We don't have the clues to go off because we have a little bit of a vigilante person as our point of view character now, going on her mission to solve it herself, or at least like find out what happened. And I'm not feeling as confident with this one as I did the previous case that I worked on. So I'm going to take my decaf coffee and I am going to continue on and see what Bill knows about this Seven Dials. Guys, I have no idea what the hell I'm supposed to be solving here. I love the fact that we have Bundle as our main character, right? And she is just going along, trying to do her thing. She's investigating herself, and I love her. She is awesome. But, like, she isn't a detective, pretty much like what we had in the previous book. But, like, we haven't focused on the bodies of the two victims at the start of this story, like, at all. And now I do feel like the mystery that we need to solve, because I'm like, what am I trying to solve here? I think what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to solve is the identity of the Seven Dials and who each of the people are. So, last I saw you, I did read the first 10 chapters. Now I have completed the first 20 chapters. So I'm lost. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea what the hell is going on right now. But Agatha Christie never gives up, okay? So we're gonna soldier on. I'm just gonna go with the story and just throw out some names. Throw out some names that'll stick, hopefully. So the Seven Dials. There is a club called the Seven Dials Club that Bundle ends up going to. And that's what Bill shows her. And she ends up bumping into Alfred, who used to work at Chimneys. But Alfred was approached by Mr. Mozgorovsky and is told that, I want you to work at the Seven Dials Club, so drop your job here at Chimneys. There is a guy that I know who will fill in for you. I will give you £100 to do so. And that is obviously really sketchy and really weird. So this Mr. Mozgorovsky, some Russian businessman, he is obviously involved in what could potentially be some shady shit. So Bundle ends up coming up with the idea that she is going to sneak into the Seven Dials Club and hide herself in a cupboard that Alfred is going to lock, and she's going to wait for the Seven Dials Club to meet. And yeah, as we said, like, they seem to be like some kind of like mafia type organization, which honestly, it's getting more and more ridiculous, but like so fun to read though. It's so fun to read. Really tricky to even know what I'm supposed to be doing though, as a experienced detective. It's hard to know what I'm actually supposed to be doing. So we're following Bundle, and she is getting herself into these crazy situations, and I love her. I think she's awesome. But yeah, she does end up overhearing a meeting of the Seven Dials. So let's focus on that, because there have been like other things that have happened in the story, which I'll catch you up with as well. But I think predominantly, let's see if we can find out the identity of the Seven Dials and who each of the people are. So what was really cool is that each of the Seven Dials members, they have this mask, and there is like a clock face, and they each point to a different time. So we have 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 7 o'clock. 2 of the members are missing from this meeting. So 2 o'clock isn't to be found, but it is said on page 129 that this person is a man, okay? And then 7 o'clock, we have again someone who doesn't appear, and they are apparently the president of this club. So I'm like, okay, like it seems like very exclusive and a little bit fun, I'm not gonna lie. And also are said to be a man. So we only have 5 members present that Bundle is spying on. So 6 o'clock we know to be Mr. Mozgorovsky, because he actually doesn't have his mask on to begin with, and we see that. He puts on a mask that is pointing to 6 o'clock. So we know the identity of him. But Mr. Mozgorovsky, is he the main villain? Like, is he the one who ordered Jerry and Ronnie to be killed? I don't know. He's not the president. Apparently that's 7 o'clock. The only other identity that we do know as well is someone called Anna. Now, Anna, she has a musical foreign voice, and she has a tiny black mole under right shoulder blade, and has a dark Slavonic face. Now, I do think maybe Anna is a code name or like a nickname or something. The only like other female character who could potentially be part of this maybe could be the Countess. There is a Countess who was introduced. So I'm just going to like write her down as a potential. I'm just making predictions. I'm just like guessing who these people are, because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing other than standing around and looking pretty. 2 o'clock, no idea, he wasn't even there. But 3 o'clock is a man with a low, pleasant, well-bred Englishman voice. He's also described as a tall, heavily built man. Now, this is where this could be a little bit of a twist, because later on in the story, when we bump into this person, he is described as having a large, solid build. And that's when Lorraine accidentally runs into this person. And this person, guess who it is? Who I think it is, just because of the way that the frame of this person is described. Superintendent Battle. Now, obviously, Superintendent Battle is a main character who's only appeared a few times in this, but he does appear in other books. So this is why I'm wondering if maybe Superintendent Battle, because he tells Bundle to like stay away and stuff, maybe Superintendent Battle has infiltrated this group and he is going undercover, because he has been a little bit sketchy. If I didn't know Superintendent Battle was in other books, I would have said he was a major suspect, because he can be a little bit shifty, but that's because I think he's undercover. So I think maybe 3 o'clock is Battle. He's just doing his job. So 4 o'clock is a man with a slight American accent, but it's also said that he has like a little bit of an Irish accent as well. Now there is an Irish character. I believe his name is O'Rourke. Yeah, as I'm talking about some kind of formula that the Seven Dials people are, I think, probably trying to get their hands on. Again, like it's a little bit hard to follow the story a little bit. There's apparently a formula that we find out about, and Jimmy and Bill and Bundle are talking about it, and they're talking about this formula being handed down to someone. And one of them says, "We must come down to details. First of all, where will the sacred formula be tonight? Will Eberhard have it or Sir Oswald Coote? Neither, I understand, is to be handed to the Air Minister this evening for him to take to town tomorrow. In that case, O'Rourke will have it, share too." So I'm thinking maybe 4 o'clock might be O'Rourke. Only because I believe he does have a bit of an Irish accent. The thing is though, when these people are talking, I'm like, does Bundle not recognise their voices? Like, at all. Is there not a single person she recognises? So that's why I'm feeling like none of these are the obvious suspects, like, say, Bill or Jimmy, because surely she would recognise their voice. So I don't think 4 o'clock is either of them, and I don't think 3 o'clock is either of them. And same with 5 o'clock. And with 5 o'clock, I think maybe it might be some kind of servant or someone, because, this is so confusing. But we know it's a man, but he says he's not his own master, so it was harder for him to get to the meeting. So he obviously answers to someone. He could be a servant, or he could just be someone who works. He does mention that he is an aviator. See, the thing is though, the only aviator person I know is Jimmy. He has an aviation background. But surely if that was Jimmy, then Bundle would recognise the voice. So that's why I'm like, I don't think it's Jimmy. And I don't think he's involved in the Seven Dials. I do think him and Bill are maybe misdirections, red herrings, to make us think it. But at the same time, there's not really like very many characters left who I think it could be. I'm wondering if maybe 5 o'clock is a servant. So maybe like Treadwell, we don't really know too much about it. Oh, actually, I almost forgot about, no. Hang on. I mean, he could still be potentially 7 o'clock or 2 o'clock. You know what? Treadwell, I want to say, is 5 o'clock. So Treadwell was, a servant to them. And Bundle does ask him a few questions, and he's quite knowledgeable about it as well. So potentially Treadwell is 5 o'clock. So 7 o'clock and 2 o'clock, two men. And for a second there, I just had a thought. So if 7 o'clock is the president of the group, I'm thinking of maybe Pongo. You know, Pongo, who they said at the start is very clever, and he comes up with the idea of like the alarm clocks and things. Surely we must have some relevance to that whole alarm clock situation. So maybe the fact that he was, said to be quite knowledgeable, he could be the man in charge. It could all lead back to Pongo. It could be him. Obviously 6 o'clock we already know, so 2 o'clock we need another man. We need another man. I mean, it could be Bill. But again, I don't know. It does need to be... Oh, crap in hell. It does need to be someone we've already met, surely. Okay, so... we still have George Lomax, I remember. And he was the one who was hosting that party that we were warned about. So maybe him. Maybe him. And he might not have been at this meeting because he's too busy with this party. Maybe. Maybe, okay, so maybe we'll write George Lomax down, because I literally have no one else, to be quite honest. Okay, so I feel like the Countess George Lomax, Battle, O'Rourke, Treadwell, Pongo, and Mr. Mozgorovsky are the 7 dials. And they are just silencing people who are trying to get the word out about 7 dials. Why, I do not know. It seems to have something to do with this formula. It seems like this must have something to do with maybe some like warfare or some like military thing. But Eberhard's got some sort of formula with him, or rather Sir Oswald has. This stuff has been tested out at his works. In this secret formula, it's like getting passed to someone. So maybe the 7 dials, people are after it. Oh, see, I'm going through the clues here about the 7 dials people. And Bundle does say, I think I should recognize number 5. He's got a queer way of speaking, a kind of venomous, lisping way that I think I'd know again. So number 5, yeah, so Treadwell, she was just speaking to Treadwell. Unless he's putting on a voice, which I highly doubt. Okay, so maybe it's not Treadwell. Oh my god, like this is so confusing. This is so confusing. I have no idea who is who, what is what. Jimmy and Bundle do theorize that maybe 2 o'clock is Boa, their footman. But I'm not 100% sure I believe them to be, because maybe Boa is 5 o'clock. Now waiting for a report. Maybe 7 o'clock? No. They theorize he's maybe 2 o'clock. But I think George Lomax has something to do with it. I think he fits in there. Unless George Lomax is number 5. Okay, maybe... Okay, yeah, maybe I make... No, hang on. Right, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Maybe Boa is involved as well. I don't know. They're talking about this formula, as I said. And at Withen Abbey, that is when like the whole exchange is going down. And Jimmy ends up getting shot in the arm during this, and someone escapes through the window. They dropped a brown paper packet that Lorraine ends up picking up, and then she runs into Battle, and we don't know what's in this packet just yet. So in the part of the story, Jimmy has been shot in the arm, and O'Rourke, who is my suspect for 4 o'clock, he is fast asleep drugged. I think I can't wake him, and the papers have vanished. So this could be another instance where someone who's associated with the 7 dials is being silenced. Because maybe O'Rourke was about to do something or say something that was going to expose them. Maybe. I don't know if O'Rourke is going to die. I don't know if this is the same drug that killed Jerry, that made him comatose and then eventually took his life. I literally have no suspects of like anything because, okay, what are the hard clues? What? 2 people are dead, right? That is the hard fact. 2 people are dead, and that is what we should really be focusing on, I think. Even though we have the 7 dials, it is potential that 7 o'clock, aka potentially Pongo, is the one who murdered them. It could be a little bit obvious though, because Pongo was the one who went into Jerry's room to set the alarm clocks in there. Oh god. Okay, well, I don't know who should be my main suspect, because I don't know what I'm solving. But if I'm gonna point the finger at anyone, maybe Pongo. Maybe Pongo. Guys, what am I doing? What am I doing? I unfortunately think Miss Christie is pulling a fast one on me. So I have poured myself a bubbly pink Moscato, the first drink I've had in absolute months. And I've got up to the end of chapter 30. And that's where I need to stop for my Christie Crime Solve along with my channel members. And the live show for that is in just over an hour. So I need to come up with a theory so I can present my case and lock someone up. The thing is, though, I genuinely don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what I'm supposed to be solving. It's really hard when you have a character who is not an actual detective, just observing things and trying to get into places that she probably shouldn't be. And don't get me wrong, I love that angle of this storytelling. It's just hard to like come up with clues, so to speak. Although I'm sure there's like plenty there. In Battle has been in it a little bit more as well, especially after Jimmy got shot. There might be some things that lead back to the 2 victims who've died, which we do need to come back to. I just don't understand like the whole 7 dials thing and how it all connects. I really do not. Let me catch you up to speed. I'm going to have to rub some things out as well. Vera and Helen. Ain't nobody need to know about them. They haven't really appeared again. And I will be adding Sir Oswald onto the list. So let's put Sir Oswald over here. Sir Oswald. So one of the reasons why I'm putting him on is because we've just had that scene where Jimmy got shot in the shoulder or like the arm, and we don't know who in the world did that. There was a scuffle in the room and the gun was thrown out the window, as well as that packet that Lorraine Wade picked up, and whoever shot Jimmy got away. And they think that he did go down by the ivy. However, Battle said there was only one pair of footprints, and that was Lorraine. And Lorraine was coming up to the house, so she obviously wasn't the person who shot him, but she was coming up to the house. The packet landed at her feet, she picked it up, ran into Superintendent Battle, and they go in and investigate the bangs. So whoever shot Jimmy came out the window, but like went back inside and didn't leave any footprints downstairs, like in the garden area. So it's weird because there is potential that that was Sir Oswald, because it had to be someone in the house, right? Had to be someone in the house. And George is also in the house, so he could remain a suspect. Superintendent Battle to say, I think there's a lot too much ivy about this place. Excuse me, sir, you've got a bit on your coat. Yes, a great deal too much ivy complicates things. And yeah, Sir Oswald apparently had some ivy on his coat. So he could have potentially started to have climbed down, realized that maybe Superintendent Battle was approaching, and decided to climb back in through the window, go back into the house. So ivy on coat. So he could have shot Jimmy. So he could be one of these. They're saying that Bauer, aka the butler who replaced Alfred at Chimneys, they say he could be 2 o'clock. Maybe Oswald could be either 2 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So we're going to just add Sir Oswald to one of these. So he could be 2 or 7. Maybe Oh, and we did get confirmation that Anna, aka 1 o'clock, is the Countess. I was correct. So the Countess, she was hiding in that room where Jimmy got shot. She doesn't see the scuffle because the lights are off, but she does hear it, and she does pass out during it as well. But when the Countess leaves the room, Bundle sees a mole on her back in the exact same place that she saw 1 o'clock have it on her back when she was spying on the Seven Dials meeting. So this is definitely the Countess. So there may be something about this, but I'm, again, like, not 100% sure the end goal of the Seven Dials. Like, with the formula, that is safe now, I believe. So what is it that they're after? Why did they kill Jerry and Ronnie if they are the ones who killed them? This could be, again, like the last Agatha Christie book that I read, a huge misdirection. There could just be so much chaos to try and confuse me, which it's worked. It has worked. And I do definitely believe that Battle is part of Seven Dials, but undercover, because he is trying to deflect as Bundle tells him about the Countess being part of Seven Dials. It seems like he knows something, but he's just not given us all of the information, which is fair enough. Pain in my arse, let me tell you. Another thing about Sir Oswald that we do find out about him is that he is ambidextrous, and the person who shot Jimmy was left-handed. So that could go against Sir Oswald. Then we have George, and George is a little bit weird. Randomly out of nowhere, he wants to marry Bundle. And yeah, it definitely does seem sudden. He goes to Lord Caterham and says, I want to marry your daughter. I want to take her and I want her to be my wife. It is so bizarre to come out of nowhere. And I freaking love the fact that Bundle ends up like jumping out the window to avoid saying yes. Like, she says no. And he's like, he writes a letter being like, oh, I know she must feel overwhelmed. I can come out quite strong, but this will be a great thing. And he totally takes it the wrong way. It's typical man behaviour. Yeah, he says, I have no wish to hurry her in any way. Her girlish confusion was very charming. I have no doubts of my ultimate success. Look, she literally said no and jumped out the window to get away from you. Like, there's no way. But what's so funny is Bill, when Bill finds out about it, he says, proposing to Bundle, the dirty swine, at his age? He says he's in the prime of his life, said Lord Caterham. He, why his decrepit, senile, Bill said, look, Bill, just because the rapper's wrinkled doesn't mean the candy ain't sweet, okay? I don't have it out for George being an older guy. I don't actually know how old Bundle is. I don't know if there's a massive age gap between them, but, you know, he was shooting his shot, and he genuinely thinks he did a good job. Because he's honestly, like, it was hilarious, like, such a hilarious scene. In fact, this book has been funny quite a lot. Bundle and her father as well, some of the interactions between them two, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I do think George's overconfidence in himself it just says so much about men in that time period, doesn't it? And even today, even still to this day. So for me, personally, it does seem like George or Sir Oswald, one of them were potentially the ones who attacked Jimmy. I'm less inclined to believe it was George if he is as old as he's apparently coming across as. He probably wouldn't be able to climb out a window. You know what I mean? Sir Oswald is probably more likely. Or Pongo. You know, Pongo hasn't really been too prevalent in it, but I do think, again, he keeps being mentioned as somebody who is quite controlling, somebody who is in charge. And so I do feel like that leads back to number 7. I do believe it comes back to number 7. So again, I don't really understand. Like, would it be too obvious for it to be Pongo, though, if he was the last person in the room with Jerry and, like, the one to put the clocks in there? Would that be too obvious? But then again, the previous case that I solved was a really obvious one, and it was purposefully obvious, so that would try and deflect me, but I went with it anyway. However, the most recent development that could end up changing my mind about all of this is that Bill gets a letter from Ronnie, the second victim. It seems he left instructions if he was to die suddenly, a certain sealed envelope was to be sent to me exactly a fortnight after his death. And he tells this to Jimmy. And Jimmy asks, they sent it to you? He says, yes. You've opened it? Yes. Well, what did it say? Bill turned a glance upon him, such a strange and uncertain one that Jimmy was startled. Look here, I said, pull yourself together, old man. It seems you have knocked the wind out of you, whatever it is. Have a drink. And then Jimmy pours Bill a drink, a stiff whiskey and soda, and brought it over to Bill, who took it obediently. However, when Jimmy meets up with Bundle and Lorraine in the next chapter, Lorraine races up the stairs as fast as she could, bursting upon them. Bill, Bill, oh Bundle, Bill. What about Bill? Bill, I think he's dead. He's in the car still, but he doesn't move or speak. I'm sure he's dead. He isn't dead. He does seem to be passed out, and his heartbeat is very irregular. His pulse is irregular. And they're saying, oh, someone could have maybe injected him with something when they weren't, paying attention and what have you. However, I find it really suspicious that Jimmy gave him a drink in the chapter before. Because with Jerry as well, when he died, he'd obviously drank something. What was it? Chloral? He drank like chloral stuff. So it's something to do with what he drank. And so if Bill has had something like that, and even earlier as well in the book, Jimmy mentions about finding this white powder outside. And when Bundle is like, oh, where did you find that? He's like, oh, I'm keeping it a secret. And I'm like, well, why? I mean, if you're actually working together, why are you keeping that a secret? Yeah, he produced a small bottle and tossed it over to the girls. It was half full of white powder. A white crystalline powder, that's what it is, said Jimmy. And to any reader of detective fiction, those words are both familiar and suggestive. Where did you find it, asked Bundle? Ah, that's my secret. So like, could this be the same? Is this chloral? Is that what this white powder is? Is that chloral? So I'm going to have to expand Jimmy a little bit because I am getting really suspicious of Jimmy. So he has given Bill a drink before he passes out and then finds white powder but keeps how he found it secret. So those are two very suspicious things. And when I look at all of these suspects, Sir Oswald, I don't think was anywhere near Jerry when he died. He could have been the one to kill Ronnie, of course. But when I go back to the main point at hand, which is the prank on Jerry and Jerry's death in the first place, whoever is the main suspect in this case, and again, I've been so confused and blindsided about the whole 7 dials thing, that it has to be someone who was there at the very start. And now it could have still be Pongo. I feel like Pongo was maybe still my main suspect. But Jimmy is like creeping up there as well, especially with how much Jimmy has been so much of a main character and has seemed rather helpful with Bundle's investigation. He also, out of nowhere, said to Lorraine that he wants to get married to her. And it seems like she reciprocates the feelings as well. So I don't know if that's another one of those instances where Agatha Christie throws in a random romance subplot just for the sake of it, I don't know. Like, it came out of nowhere to me personally. So I am more inclined to actually believe it's Jimmy, considering Pongo is nowhere near Bill. And it is said, though, that someone could have come up to Bill as he was in the car and injected him with something. I feel like that's highly unlikely and incredibly suspicious. I feel like the only person who knows about the letter that Bill got from Ronnie, the only person who knows is Jimmy. And Jimmy is also the only person who knew about, like, so when Jerry first dies and Ronnie says, I have something to tell you, And Jimmy's like, oh, is it about Jerry? And Ronnie's like, yes. But then Ronnie ends up backing out and not telling Jimmy. So maybe Jimmy was like, oh, maybe Ronnie knows too much there as well. And ended up killing Ronnie. Yeah, so Jimmy would have been there for Jerry, would have been there for Ronnie. And he's around with Bill as well. So Pongo would have had to have been in the shadows for all of this, which he kind of has been. So I don't know if maybe that's been a little bit too obvious, but he has been my number one suspect for a while. But in an obvious way, you know? It's even mentioned that he walks around like a cat sometimes, and you never know. And there is like that rivalry between Jimmy and Pongo, considering they knew each other back at school. I think it would be more shocking if it was Jimmy, to be honest, with him taking such a main character role in this book. And yeah, I don't think you've really seen too much of the others, to be honest. But like, then who attacked Jimmy? Maybe the Seven Dials isn't a bad thing. Maybe it is someone from Seven Dials who is trying, maybe, what if Pongo is the one who attacked Jimmy, right? And, or it could have been Oswald. So maybe one of them, maybe they know that Jimmy killed Jerry and Ronnie, and they sent an agent because they thought that maybe Jimmy would kill again. And so the attack in the place where the Countess was hiding, maybe that attack was one of the Seven Dials people trying to take Jimmy out before he takes someone else out. But then again, they wouldn't be a very... I don't think Battle would approve of that either. I don't think Battle would want that. But I do think it was maybe a Seven Dials member who attacked Jimmy, though. I do believe that. And I'm now starting to think maybe Seven Dials is good. Because if Jimmy actually did kill Jerry and Ronnie, then... Because especially actually... Remember, Ronnie's last words was tell Jimmy Thesiger. But there was tell and then ... and then Jimmy Thesiger. So it could be that Ronnie saw Jimmy in his last moments, and Jimmy was the one who shot him. In Seven Dials, maybe tell Seven Dials that it's Jimmy who killed him. maybe that's it. Oh my god, I just got chills. Maybe I've cracked it. Oh my god. So right, okay, maybe Seven Dials is good. Okay, which actually would make a whole lot of sense if maybe Superintendent Battle, maybe Superintendent Battle has infiltrated Seven Dials, thinking that they're a bad group. And that's the whole deflection of it, isn't it? By making it seem like the Seven Dials is a bad group, Superintendent Battle has infiltrated it to find them out. And maybe Battle will come to the conclusion that they are actually good. Because the Countess is in there, definitely she's in there. And she doesn't seem to be... And Mr. Mozgarovsky, I mean, yes, he owns Seven Dials, the club, and he might seem a little bit sketchy at times. There is drug dealing, there is gambling. Okay, so maybe Seven Dials isn't that good of a group. But they're definitely not, I think, murderers. I don't think they're murderers. There's just something going on politics-wise with this group. I don't know. I'm confused. I genuinely don't know. But I feel like I was going on to something there, and now I'm kind of losing it because I'm trying to explain this group and I don't understand. But maybe, yeah, Jimmy was trying to make it look like they were part of it. And that was why he was, like, very adamant about the alarm clock only being 7. Like, one of them got thrown out the window. So, like, 7. That's an interesting number, isn't it? So maybe Ronnie and Jerry were part of Seven Dials. And Ronnie, in his final words, was saying, tell Seven Dials that Jimmy is the one who killed me. Or tell Seven Dials that Jimmy is the mastermind, is behind Jerry, and, like, is the one who killed Jerry. Why did he kill Jerry, though? I don't understand that as well. I don't know the motive. It feels like this is a lot bigger than my brain can comprehend. Anyway, yeah, so what am I doing? How am I locking it in? I can't explain it that well, but I'm thinking maybe... Oh god, I am a little bit torn between Jimmy and Pongo. Because if I move away from the Pongo theory, and that was my theory from the kind of beginning, it'll bite me in the ass if it does turn out to be Pongo. Oh god. But I can't explain Jimmy giving Bill the drink before he passes out and finding the white powder and not explaining how he found it. And being connected to both Jerry and Ronnie as well. He's connected to all of them. And the only reason why I even suspected Jimmy in the first place was because he gave Bill a drink. If he hadn't have given Bill that drink, I don't think I would have suspected him. But the more that I've been thinking about it, the more I'm like, okay, he seems to be quite connected to everything and everyone. I don't know. So, yeah, that is going to be my final theory. I think it's Jimmy. What he's done and why he's done it, I have no freaking clue. Genuinely, not a clue. But if I get the whodunit, then I should still get the point. Right, I have started my solve along with my channel members. We have shared our theories, and we have now started the reading sprint to finish the book off. And I'm about to find out if I am right or wrong. need to top up the bubbly pink Moscato and see what's going on. So a lot of great theories were shared, and I do have a little bit more confidence in my theory, but at the same time, I feel like I've overlooked quite a lot. But this was a very hard case to solve. Too many names, nicknames, first names, surnames, and I think just so many characters. So anyway, let's crack on. I'm going to now read the last 4 chapters of this and find out what the fuck has gone on here. Okay, so Bill is fine. And after, because Bundle has just been whacked over the head, like that's how chapter 30 ended, and she fell unconscious. And now Bill has picked her up and he's held her in his arms and he's like, oh, Bundle, Bundle, darling, I love you. I do love you so, Bundle, darling, darling. Honestly, all of these romances are just coming at me out of nowhere. Oh my dear, I love, oh, Bundle, Bundle, what shall I do? Oh, darling one, my Bundle. Oh my God, shut up. Oh, what shall I do? I've killed her. Wait, hang on. Wait, did Bill knock her out? Is Bill the one who knocked her out? No, you haven't, you silly idiot. Bundle, you're alive. Of course I'm alive. Wait, she's been out for the count for the last 5 minutes. And he said, why didn't you open your eyes? And she said, didn't want to, I was enjoying myself. Girl. Wait, so did Bill not knock her out? Why did Bill think that he killed her? Maybe he was just being dramatic. As per usual, these men. I do love you so, I have for ages, but I never dared to tell you. Oh my God. Christie, why do you have to throw in these random ass romances? And the amount of times people call other people an ass. So many times, jeez. Could I bring myself to do what? Marry me? I know I'm awfully thick-headed, but I do love you, Bundle. Right now, seriously right now, she's just been knocked over the head and knocked unconscious. We have murder suspect on the loose. Like, come on, time and place. I could just bring myself to marry you, Bill, with a great effort, you know. Get the fuck up, Bundle, and solve this thing. Come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Do you really love... Oh my God, fucking hell, shut up. And let's just get back to it. Okay, so now we have Mr. Mozgorovsky, the owner of the 7 Dials, finally coming. He's unlocked the door. Oh, they're taking Bundle to an emergency meeting of the 7 Dials Society. Is this where we find out who's who and what they're actually like doing? I again think that they are maybe a good group, or like they're doing some like secret stuff, but not murder. I don't think they're murdering people. Ooh, number 7 was in his place. We're about to find out who number 7 is. Oh, she's been offered to be 2 o'clock. She's been offered a job at the 7 Dials Society. Oh my God, girl, take it. What you got to lose? Oh, she says, I can't do that. Mosgorovsky says, you do not as yet know, Lady Eileen, what it is you are refusing. And Bundle says, I can make a pretty good guess. Can you? It was the voice of 7 o'clock. It awoke some vague code of memory in her brain. Surely she knew that voice. Bundle found herself looking in the expressionless wooden face of Superintendent Battle. I freaking knew it! I knew it. Well, I didn't know he was number 7, but I knew he had infiltrated the group. I knew he infiltrated the group. He was part of it. Was he undercover? Is he undercover? Or are they a good group? Oh my gosh. Oh, I got that right. I should get a point for that. I should get a point for that. Well, Battle is saying that they're not a criminal group. But what are they really up to? Wait, hang on, what? Number 5 is Count Andras of the Hungarian Embassy. Who? Number 4 is Mr. Hayward Phelps, an American journalist. Who? I don't know these people. Okay, so maybe trying to figure out who the 7 Dials people are wasn't actually something I should have been trying to solve. Because who the fuck are they? I mean, they're saying a dear friend of the late Gerald Wade, but like, Count Andras? Mr. Hayward Phelps? What the fuck? Oh, number 3 is Bill! Number 3 is Bill! Number 2, when on Battle, can only show an empty place as a place belonging to Mr. Ronald Devereaux. So Ronald was number 2, but he got killed. Ronnie got killed. So that makes my theory even more correct about the fact that maybe he wasn't trying to warn Jimmy about 7 Dials. He was trying to warn 7 Dials about Jimmy. Oh, number 1 was Mr. Gerald Wade. His place was taken by a lady who has proved her fitness to have it, and it was being a great help to us. So the Countess, yep, Countess Radsky. Oh, this is Babe St. Maur. Okay, I don't think I've mentioned Babe St. Maur at all in this vlog, but Babe St. Maur is an actress Bill had mentioned before. So the Countess is also the actress Babe. Okay. Oh, and she was engaged to Ronnie. Bless. Oh, and Jerry Wade was the one who got onto battle about the formation of a band of what you might call amateur workers to do a bit of Secret Service work. Okay. One thing I mentioned to my channel members is that anything to do with spies or like espionage stories, like spy thrillers, aren't really my thing, and I do find them a little bit confusing. So I try to stay away from that. And I do think this is more spy thriller of a Christie novel than an actual like straightforward murder mystery. So it has been a really hard one to solve because it ain't really my cup of tea. I mean, saying that though, I have been thoroughly entertained. They wanted a certain man, wanted him badly. He wasn't an ordinary crook. He worked in Mr. Wade's world, a kind of Raffles, but much more dangerous than any Raffles ever was or could be. They were after a man. They were after a man. And who was this man? Who was this man? Tell me now. The man was dangerous. 2 lives fell victim to him, and he got away with it. The 7 Dials stuck to it, and as I say, they succeeded thanks to Mr. Eversay. The man was caught at last red-handed. Who was he, Aspinall? Do I know him? You know him very well, Lady Eileen. His name is Mr. Jimmy Thesiger, and he was arrested this afternoon. Oh, Gav. I mean, slag. Oh, you did it again. You did it again, you old codger. You old flapjack. You little ass. Oh my god. And to be fair though, I did not suspect Jimmy until like the second last chapter that I read before this. Chapter 29 was when it unraveled for me. I was like, oh, hang on. Yeah, Battle says he didn't suspect him for a long time, and neither did I, to be quite honest. Heard what Mr. Devereux's last words had been. Naturally, you took them to mean that Mr. Devereux was trying to send word to Jimmy that the 7 Dials had killed him. That's all the words seemed to mean on their face value. Couldn't be so. It was the 7 Dials that Mr. Devereux wanted told. And what he wanted them told was something about Jimmy. Oh, so we think maybe it was Ronnie who threw out the alarm clock and made it seem like the 7 Dials to see who would react to it. And maybe... Okay, I'm not quite understanding exactly what Battle is saying here because he keeps saying he. And he could be referring to either Jimmy or Ronnie. He did a curious thing. He arranged 7 clocks upon the mantelpiece, throwing away the 8th. It was meant as a symbol that the 7 Dials would revenge the death of one of their members. And he watched eagerly to see if anyone betrayed themselves. Wait, guys, no, I think that means that Ronnie did the alarm clock situation and it rattled Jimmy. And it was Jimmy who poisoned Jerry. Yes, he slipped the stuff into a whiskey and soda, which Mr. Wade had downstairs before retiring to bed. That's why he was already feeling sleepy when he wrote that letter to Miss Wade. Well. And I almost went for Pongo as well. Almost went for Pongo. Wait, they think Mr. Wade was betrayed in the same way through Miss Lorraine Wade? Mr. Wade was devoted to her. I believed he hoped to marry her. She wasn't really his sister. Yikes. And there is no doubt that he told her more than he should have done. But Miss Lorraine was devoted body and soul to Jimmy. She would do anything he told her. She passed on the information to him. Oh shit. So did Lorraine inadvertently get Ronnie killed? Because he trusted Lorraine and he wanted her, but Lorraine told Jimmy and Jimmy killed him? Oh, so are they working together? that would kind of explain the throwing the packet out the window and Lorraine picking up the packet because she was stealing it as well and she was at the right place at the right time. And yeah, so they were on watch that night when Jimmy got shot. So when the Countess was like going around, yeah, that whole cock and bull story about the book and the electric torch and stuff, something was fishy there. I did think that. She was on guard at the library window and heard Jimmy coming and had to duck behind the screen. Wait, what? Battle is saying there wasn't another man in that room when Jimmy got shot. To begin with, Jimmy and Lorraine are in this together, and they have a rendezvous for an exact time. Miss Wade comes over, climbs the fence, comes up the house. Yeah, parcel falls at her feet, she picks it up. He shot himself. Jimmy shot himself. Oh my gosh, I should have seen that coming. I really should have. I've seen this before. I've seen this in an earlier case. Yes, I have. I should have known this. It does explain why the only footsteps down in the garden were Lorraine's and no one else's. There was no one else there. No one got down. The papers that were thrown out of the window were for the person it was meant for, which was Lorraine. I should have known that. I should have seen that. Oh, even Battle had suspicions of Pongo. Yeah, he was my main suspect before this. So, you know what? At least I know that he was a suspicious fuck. Oh, so my assistant Tobu, did you get it right? Did you get it right? Did you? I think you did. I bet you Tobu thought it was both Lorraine and Jimmy, didn't you? Yes, you did. Yes, he did. Oh, he knew. Okay, let us finish the book. I haven't finished yet. Okay, so Bill was to pretend that certain papers of Ronnie's had come into his hand. So that whole story about the letter thing was all a ruse. Yeah, Jimmy gave his guest a whiskey and soda. During the minute or two that his host was out of the room, Bill poured that into a jar on the mantelpiece. But he had to pretend, of course, that the drug was taking its effect. I knew he drugged him. See, that's what gave him away. Giving him that drink gave it away. That's how I found him. That's how I clocked his ass. Oh, and then Jimmy revealed everything to Bill when he thought that he was, dying. Oh, so Lorraine is the one who sent Bundle upstairs, and Jimmy was waiting for her, and he's the one who knocked her out. So Lorraine, you totally slipped through my fingers. Slipping through my fingers all the time. The only reason Bundle didn't die was because of Jimmy's wounded arm. When he knocked her out, he should have killed her. But because he wounded his arm, he didn't hit as hard as he thought. Okay. And Lorraine has been arrested too. You know what? I knew it was her all along. In fact, I wanted to arrest her the minute I laid eyes on that ugly sweater she was wearing. Oh god, they're saying Jimmy will swing for this. Oh, and now they're going straight to a restaurant to celebrate. Okay. They're having some fizz. Hey, cheers. And not Bundle shooting her shot with Battle. Superintendent Battle, you are a wonderful man. I'm sorry you're married already. As it is, I shall have to put up with Bill. Well, oh my god, it still goes. Again, I love Bundle and her father. Lord Caterham is hilarious. She says, you're going to lose me. He says, nonsense. And she says, not death, marriage. And he says, very nearly as bad. Suppose I shall have to come to the wedding. Fucking hell. He genuinely doesn't give a fuck. He just doesn't want to be out in public. He doesn't want to associate with people. I don't feel you're a really good judge of character, Bundle. Saying that to your own daughter, fancy that. I mean, to be fair, she did let Jimmy run things. And now the dad has just suggested a foursome in the very last line. Well, that was the Seven Dials mystery. And I don't know how to include that point. I don't think... I didn't get it fully right. Yes, I guessed Jimmy, but I did not guess Lorraine. So do I not give myself the point because I didn't get both of it right? Like, I need to get all of it right, don't I? Like, not like the entire motive and stuff. It has to be the whodunit. And yes, Jimmy is the one who killed Jerry and Ronnie, but Lorraine had a hand in it too. Lorraine was involved and I never guessed Lorraine. So do I get a half a point? But I don't really give half a points. So is it all or nothing? Do I not give myself the point or do I give myself the point? That's a good question. We might have to wait until the next episode to really figure that out. Let me know down below if you think I should get a point for this, or if you think I should give the point to Agatha for me not guessing Lorraine had any hand in this. And yeah, I don't give half points. So I'm like, should I give my first half point if I get one of the culprits right out of two? Do I give myself a half a point? I do not know. But anyway, it was a pretty interesting story. Not really my type of thing, with it being like a more spy thriller kind of thing. And like involved with like the Secret Service and stuff like that. Not really my cup of tea. But it was still very thrilling, very entertaining. I really enjoyed Bundle. I guess up until the last couple of chapters when she just wouldn't shut up with Bill. Her and Bill, like, I don't get the romances, honestly, half the time, but let them do them. I'm just bitter, single, alone. But then again, Slagatha doesn't need no man. I'm too busy solving crimes. What does SSC stand for? Slagatha solves crimes. Not Slagatha sucks. But that was the end of another Christie Crime and Wine episode. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave this video a like if you did and subscribe if you haven't already, as well as those channel high points if you have any to give. Let me know in the comments if you have read the Seven Dials Mystery, if you enjoyed it, if you enjoyed the video, anything you liked about it, anything you disliked about it. Did you get it right? Did you understand anything that was going on? Let me know everything down below. I'm going to give a huge thank you to my channel members for supporting my channel and for doing this solve along with me. If you'd like to join my channel membership and join in future solve alongs, then the link is in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye!